I knew when I heard the 10 awesome people share their stories that the documentary was going to change the world. I call these individuals world changers because to me, a world changer is someone who changes the world one person at a time. I had Mr. Robinson. Mr. Robinson was is a male who was a victim to older family members. He was
As children, we play a lot.
Yes.
And then we have older cousins that know certain things, and those play things, you become that play item.
Yes.
You become part of the play. Like we played house.
Yes.
We played doctor. Mm-hmm. We played a lot of things. I remember being the doctor. And having my cousins on the board, on the ironing board, and we would play. But then when my older cousins came in, it became a different situation because they were a little bit more experienced with things, and they used to use the younger cousins as those playthings.
Yes. He was in his preteens, and they were older, and they knew exactly what they were doing, and they victimized him. The one thing that I appreciate about Mr. Robinson, you don't get too many men who share their stories because of the stigma. The stigma is that if a male is a victim, that they're going to victimize others. That is so not true. Now, the enemy is necessary. Please get that out your mind. That is not true. No more is it to say that I'm a survivor, that I would ever victimize anyone else. Most of us do not want to ever inflict harm on another child because we have experienced it. I have Avini. Avini's story was so powerful to me because this individual was a family member for a very long time.
And then as they began to touch me in my private area, they began to say, see how enjoyable this is. And I'm like, the first couple of times I didn't understand. Like, no, this is not enjoyable. No, this doesn't seem like this is right. And
how old were you? I'm sorry.
It started. I had my first period at 8. So I was about 8.
Okay.
I was about 8.
So I just want to ask for a reason because you need to understand everybody I'm bringing here has different ages. She's 8.
I was 8 because I remember having my period for the first time and I thought I was dying. And then 2 months later, I was on my cycle, and they said, well, I'll just put a rag up under you. Why didn't I tell? Because my self-esteem told me not to. Because I felt that, first of all, they wouldn't trust me. They wouldn't believe me.
Yes.
And then because I was already broken and I didn't have a value inside of me, I said, what is the purpose of telling? And then I thought I deserve it.
Yes.
Because I was less
as
than.
a young lady.
So it wasn't.
Zessa and I have a connecting story. Her predator was in the family of my predator. It was actually a family of predators, to be honest.
And he touched me. And I felt uncomfortable right away.
How
and
old were you?
I was 12. I was 12. So they were, and I was a late bloomer, so they wasn't even like there yet. Yes. I didn't have any breasts because I was a late bloomer. Mine didn't come till later. So I was like, but I definitely felt uncomfortable with his touch. So I was like, I was thinking because he was a family member, that was a mistake.
Okay.
Not it was okay. That was a mistake.
He mistakenly did that to you.
He mistakenly touched me, brushed against me, as he was showing me like where he's going to paint.
Yes.
That was a mistake.
So how did you know the next time that it wasn't a mistake?
I realized that first time was not a mistake when it happened the next time.
How long did he continue to abuse you?
He continued to abuse me from the time I came there at 12 until the time I left at 18.
And let me ask you a question, because this is what makes me scream. When people say, why didn't we tell? What happened between 12 and 18 when you became a victim that you you just didn't flip out, and because people think that you're supposed to just flip out or whatever. They don't understand that you trust and love this person.
I did trust and love him because it was family
Yes.
that was taking care of me.
Yes. Say it again.
Financially,
They were taking care
I had
of
a roof
you.
over my head. I had food in my belly. He
Yes.
was taking care of me. So what? And he was taking not only me, but the whole family.
People don't understand that.
He was taking care of the whole
Like,
family.
how do you tell about
So
someone who's taking care of
I
family?
didn't know what to do in that situation. I wanted to tell,
For who?
but who exactly? Who do I tell that it won't be such a devastation on the family and for me? Like, if I tell, where does that leave me?
Yes.
I had Tessa. Tessa is definitely a strong woman. Her story was that a family member, and you're going to hear this is common, why we didn't tell, a family member not only victimized her, but the males in the family too, which for me,
goody two shoes.
Mm-hmm.
I was in church about 3 to 4 nights every week, and that didn't include Sunday.
Wow.
So we had Bible study, we had this, we had that. Whenever the church doors were open, I was there. So 4 or 5 days. I was that child that they probably wouldn't have seen either, because they thought, oh, she's just a really good, quiet girl. She's in the church. The church was my safe haven. I felt that if I was standing in the presence of God, if I was before people who were pastors and all the rest of it, that I was safe there.
Yes.
And so I tried to stay in the church as much as I possibly could so that I could be safe. If someone hurts you and they don't say they're sorry, you have to forgive them anyway. And I didn't understand. I'm like, well, why should I forgive them if they did something to me and I didn't do anything back to them? And they drilled it in my head. If you don't forgive them, you'll be walking around angry and hurt. They will have let it go and they've gone on to whoever. They may even do it to somebody else. But you'll be the one walking around angry, and you're thinking about it constantly, and you're apprehensive when you see them because you've got this anger building up in you. So you've got to learn to forgive for you. So in my early teens, I learned to forgive, whereas my sister carried it with her all throughout her 20s and her 30s. I had to.
That was me.
My sister was furious
Yes.
up through her 30s, her 40s. She was just a furious, furious woman, and I was the one crying inside.
Yes.
And so I was trying to learn to forgive because I wanted to be Christ-like.
Yes.
And I wanted to be able to say that he did not have control over me, because I knew that anger meant that he had control over me. And although I was quiet, I did not want anybody to have control over me.
To these 3 different areas: an educator, a parent, or a victim. And a victim. What would your advice be to these 3 individuals?
I'm going to start with the parent.
Okay.
And I start with the parent because as a parent myself now, one of your other questions was, how's it changed you as a parent now? Or how's it influenced you as a parent? My children, I'm very protective of.
Yes.
So I taught them starting at like age 2.
Yes.
They don't touch you here. Did anybody touch you here? So if I have to leave my child with someone, even if it's a relative,
Yes.
because it was a relative who touched me, did they touch you here? Did they kiss you here? Did they? I asked it. I would go through a series of questions.
Yes.
Did they touch you here? To this day, I still ask one of my children, did anyone touch you at school here?
Yes.
Did anyone do this? Did anyone touch here? No, they're not. Is anybody allowed to touch here? Show me where this is.
Yes.
Show me this body part. Show me that body part. Who's allowed to touch that? And I go through all those things. So I would tell a parent to talk to your children about their body parts.
Yes.
And who is allowed to touch them
Yes.
there. Who is allowed to even wash you there.
Yes.
Who's allowed to go with you into a bathroom there. And whoever does, they need to ask them about it on a daily. Life gets so rushed. And we don't stop. Oh, hi, how was school? And keep it at that. And you don't even hear that answer.
Yes.
But still take time out because they're important to us.
Yes.
And we're the ones that are supposed to protect them. My mom was a single mom at the time. She was always trying She was working 2 jobs and then doing volunteer work. So she was always gone. And I know she did the best that she could, but she didn't ask me enough questions.
Yes.
And so now I want to be that mom that asks as many questions as I possibly can. So that would be my advice to moms. To educators, I would say, pay attention to even the quiet ones.
Yes.
The quiet ones are still giving a message, even in being good.
Yes.
You're quiet and you're good. Why are you so quiet? What are the books you draw? Ask me to draw you a picture.
Mm-hmm.
Ask me about touch. What makes me? Why am I so quiet? Why am I so introverted? Why do I not want to be with anybody? Why don't I want anybody in my space? When a child does not want, children are naturally free spirited.
Yes.
We want to run, we want to play, we want to
Yes.
do all that. So for a child to be withdrawn, there's something going on. They're giving you the signs. They want you to ask questions. They want to know there's a safe space.
Yes.
They've got, whether it's school
Yes.
or church,
Mhm.
they want to know they have a safe space that they can talk to someone and be heard. So, and then I'm sorry, I missed the other one. Educators,
Parents and the victims. So
Oh,
we
the
have somebody that's not telling their stories now.
to a
who's scared.
victim, I would have to say to a victim, you could become a victor. Your story benefits somebody somewhere. There's a little girl like you. There's a little boy like you who's going through what you're going through, and your predator will continue to go on and do what they're doing because we're taught to not.
We keep
Don't
secrets.
don't
Keep
tell
secrets.
anybody. Here's those marshmallow cookies. Here's that hoagie.
Yes. Yes.
And so if you just don't tell, then
It's our little
nobody has to
secret.
know. Yes,
It's our
and
little
so
secret.
have the conversation. And if the person that you tell it to doesn't hear you, tell somebody else, and keep telling it until somebody hears you. Because somebody will hear. There'll be somebody who will believe you. And if your truth is your truth, nobody else can take that away from you.
I have Kelly story when she first told me that she was a little girl and she
She's
wanted.
7 years old and he's starting to touching already. Does it progress?
Yes, it progresses a lot. He began to just touch and feel, and then he began to unbutton clothes, and he began to go inside my pants. He began to my breasts. He began to lick on the back of my neck. He began to he pulled out his penis. He pulled out his penis, and he began to tell me to rub it and feel on it, and then he told me that it's gonna be okay. Don't cry. And at this time, I'm crying because it just didn't smell right.
Yes.
It was something different for me. And he made me give him oral sex. And at the time, I didn't know what it was.
Yes.
I really didn't. I didn't know what he was doing. And all I know is I remember the smell vividly. Like I remember the smell, and I remember the skin texture.
Mm-hmm.
I remember all this, and I remember the taste on my tongue, and then it got to the penetration part.
So how old were you when he started penetrating you?
I should say I think I was about 7 or 8 now.
Okay.
Because it went on.
Okay.
It went on. I never said anything for a year, and it just, the place changed, but it was still the same routine where I went outside and I played, and I was living at my grandma's house, and I remember him vaginally. I remember him, but it wasn't from the front. It was from the back, and he held me down into this dirty pillow. It was a really, really dirty, stinky pillow, and he held my face down, and then he started getting violent. That's when the violence came in. And when the violence came in, I know I wasn't going to say nothing.
Children. Miss Jenkins' story was different because she did tell her mother.
Over what happens?
We're in my brother's bed. My brother had his own room. It was 3 girls and 1 boy. So, all the cousins is over there. This was that was normal.
Yes.
We come from a big family. My house was, my mom let us do more.
Yes.
We could stay outside and hang out in front of the building. So all the cousins wanted to come, and that was cool. But so now we turned down, we taking it down or whatever. And I mean, to be in a bed with my male cousin was not.
Yeah.
That was not.
It's
That was
normal.
okay.
That was
You understand what I'm
normal.
saying?
Yes.
Right. We more like brothers and sisters.
Yes.
So I mean, he just like got me and just like was trying to stick it in, and I was just like shocked. And I at this time,
10 years old.
and despite what everybody said, because I always was very mature, I won't.
Yes.
I mean, I gave them every reason
I
to
understand.
feel
Yeah.
how they felt,
Yes.
but
You're
it
not making
wasn't what
something-
they thought it was.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? I had reason
How
to
old
be
was he?
angry. He had to be, I guess, about 13.
Okay. And when she told her mother, the mother response was that, don't tell the father. It was a family member, of course. Don't tell the father, because if you tell the father, he's going to kill the individual. So this innocent child had to live without sharing this story to the father, who could have helped protect her. And the predator continued to victimize people in the family. So she wasn't the only one. Young lady who was a sweetheart, her sister was victimized, and she victimized her. So in this document,
I acknowledge now that I just didn't have the support or a comfortable environment to say anything. I never had family or friends or anyone. Well, of course not friends, because I was very young when it started the first time. But I didn't have family that ever taught me what sexual abuse was. I never knew what it was. I never knew what it meant. I didn't know anything about sexuality, sex, anything.
Body parts.
Body parts, anything. And I didn't grow up in a household where I knew good touch, bad touch.
Yes.
I didn't grow up in a household where I was told, if this thing happens to you, come tell mom or dad, come tell this person or that person. And I was actually told by the person that was abusing me as a child that if I said anything, that we were both going to go to hell. And I grew up in a very religious household where you definitely wanted to be on God's side.
Yes.
So hearing that, I was terrified. So I knew I had to keep my mouth shut, that this was our secret, as I was told. So I kept it a secret, and that was just it. I just never told anyone what was going on with me. Even though now as an adult, I acknowledge that I showed certain signs of what was going on. No one ever asked me if anything was going on. No one ever told me, you can talk to me. I'm noticing these things in you. No one actually noticed
Yes.
anything. I was very violent as a child. I originally was growing up in New York before I moved out here to New Jersey, and I was a very, very violent child. I fought all the time. I picked on people. No one ever said, like, why is this happening?
Yes.
This isn't the way that I raised you. Why are you doing these things? It was more, I'm just going to punish you and punish you and punish you and punish you.
you're definitely going to hear that these individuals trusted these people. But you have family members on family members. You have siblings on siblings, because they were victimized too. You have boyfriends. You have grandfathers. You have grandmothers. You have so many different dynamics of people that you can't choose, or you don't know who a predator is. I promise you, if you knew who a predator was, you wouldn't have your children around them. But obviously they're so good at what they do that you really would not know. We don't know. We just have to empower our children so that they will be in a position to tell. I have a Kia story was that her mother boyfriend was violent to the mother.
Room, he would come out the bathroom, he would make me hold his dick. He made me do that for like 2 weeks. And 8 years old, I'm holding it, but I don't know why I'm holding it, or why he's doing this. I knew it wasn't right, but then at the end of the day, I'm scared.
Yeah.
So after 2 weeks of me holding his dick, he climbed in my bed. Me and my sister shared a bed. We had twin beds that was L-shaped. My bed here, my sister's bed here. He crawled in the bed and he put his penis in my vagina.
What
And
does that
so-
feel like? I'm so confused, like at 8 years old.
I just know it was pain.
Okay.
I cried. I don't know how long he was on top of me, but I cried. And I remember when he got up, he said, remember, I told you, you tell your mom, I killed all of you. I remember running in my mom's room. I didn't wash up. I didn't know that's what I was supposed to do. And I looked out my mommy's window, and she was outside with her friends talking, drinking a beer, smoking. And I banged on the door, and he said, remember what I told you? And I went to sleep.
I lived a horrible. It was
teen
only
life.
one time. That's
One
what I
time.
love about you, a kid, because it was only one time. It wasn't like with my life. It was years and years of abuse. It was one time, and it affects that child. So maybe sexually active or want to do porn, or maybe bisexual or gay, or peeing in the bed for a long time. It does not automatically mean that they were abused. So that's one thing you need to understand. But what I am asking you to do as people who are adults over these children is to put that in the first category of this may be going on. Normally, in our time, it was like at the bottom and they didn't even ask us, is this what was going on? What would you tell our victims who have never told anyone and they're living in silence right now? Please get them a message that will help them come out of this horror.
Pick up the phone and tell someone now.
Tell.
Do not hold it in.
Then I had one young lady who was taken out of her home from DIFAS and put into a foster home. And when she was put into the foster home, she was molested by the woman who was taking care of her. Again,
I was molested
That's it.
because I was touched on in the wrong ways. I remember being in the bathtub. The person was washing me up, and it's this one spot that she will always would touch that was inappropriate. At that time, I did not know. How I figured it out, I must have said something to one of the counselors or something like that before I even got to my house. And I explained what was going on. So being in the bathtub as a little girl, it's not unnormal that your parent would come in and help you. This wasn't my biological mother or anything like that. But it's not likely that something like that in our heads, something like that
it's
would
not
happen.
normal.
Yeah, it's not normal or anything like that. So nobody would think nothing of it, especially me being at a young age. That would happen to me. So it's easy to touch
the
them.
visual. And then it's me. And my story started when I was 3 years old.
My name is Tona, and I am a sexual abuse survivor. If you notice in this documentary, I was the one who was interviewing everyone. Now I get the opportunity to share my story. My story starts back when I was maybe about 3 or 4 years old. I can't actually remember the exact age. The reason why I know it was around 3, almost 4, is because I remember family members telling me how I used to raise my dress up all the time. And they thought it was funny, and someone thought I was being fresh. But the truth of the matter is, the guy who was molesting me taught me how to do this. When I was about 3 or 4 years old, I can remember this. I can remember the voice. I can, to this day, smell the alcohol on this man's breath. I can tell you exactly how I felt as the abuse progressed. At 3 or 4, I can tell you that I remember this individual taking my little hand and making me get him erect and to come. And the reason why, because I can remember being a little kid and remembering the wet stuff on my hand, not knowing what it was. So this went on for a few years. As I got older, it progressed more. He would kiss on my skin, because it really wasn't even a breast, because I was an undeveloped little girl. Kiss on my breast, kiss me in my mouth, and faithfully always told me he loved me. When I want to say about 6 years old, it was the first time that I knew what he was doing to me was kind of wrong. I didn't know what he was doing to me. There was no name. I was a kid. I knew nothing about sex. What I did know was that I was making this individual happy, and that he showed me mad love, and that he was really spoiling me. So in my little mind, I wasn't doing anything wrong. But this one day, I remember clear as day, I was upstairs in the house, and I was in the middle of the floor, and I was playing with myself, meaning I was touching myself in my private areas. And my mother walked by, and she popped my hand. At that moment, I knew what he was doing was bad, or what I was doing was bad. Either or way, it became negative to me because the way my mother reacted. Did she ask me where did I get it from? Nope. Did she ask me why was I doing it? Nope. She just came. She disciplined me for doing something that I was being taught to do on a regular. This abuse was not once in a blue moon. This was on a regular basis that this man would take me from my bed, put me in his bed, and molest me. When I was about 7, I can remember having urges to release the cum or to have orgasms. I always laughed when men would say to me when I was growing up what they could do to me sexually. And the reason why I would laugh is, first of all, at the age of 7 years old, I knew how to make myself, give myself an orgasm. I would put objects in my vagina to masturbate, because that's what he would do. He would put objects in my vagina when he was abusing me. So that became my norm. And that feeling became normal. And my body desired that feeling that I didn't even know what it was at a very, very young age.
And all these individuals, they are strong, powerful people who have embraced that they were victims, but soar as a survivor. What I have learned with this documentary is the courage and the power and the strength that all these individuals have within inside them to say, me too, but no more. I wrote a book, it's called Stop, Safe Touches Only Please. And this book is geared for children, K the first grade, to teach them about their body parts and to also give them the power to know that I can tell someone to stop, and if they do not stop, it's okay to find a safe person, because a safe person is always in a family. Maybe they may need to tell a teacher or call 911, but give them the power to tell a safe person that someone has done something to victimize them. I am on a crusade, and I've been on it for years. But once I realized again that I'm such a small piece of this big puzzle, I'm going to do all I can. And I hope that you would join me so that we can do all we can to make sure we have no more victims. No more. No more. Hashtag, my favorite line is that we cry, but now we roar.